And then it really is time for the last part of my trusty old base to disappear into nothing. There goes the foundations of our old manufacturing hub. And here goes our old oil area. Don't blink twice or you'll miss it. And with the last remnants of the old polluting base fully deconstructed, let's get on with it and finish this effing efficient green base. No more distractions. Actually, our legacy rocket silo has produced 68 rockets. We can do better. Let's do a quickie and launch one more burning phallus towards the mysterious clouds of Venus. Before we let the rocket silo recuperate from its adventures, with a respectable total of 69 rocket launches. Nice! Right, distractions. No more of them. So, meanwhile I prepared all yellow science ingredients, so let's do one more sweeping bot building sequence of pure satisfaction for the RCUs. Ah, satisfaction denied. So, except for the awkward beaconed belt routing, the yellow science ingredients were pretty straightforward to set up. We based the RCU build on the red chip build, as they both have an extra ingredient to produce within their setup: copper cable for red chips and speed modules for RCUs. Well, that concludes our main boss intermediates build, so let's switch everything on simultaneously and pray everything works without hiccups. A prayer answered by pretending the last 6 attempts to film the sequence didn't happen. Well, it sure is a little difficult to see with the build so spread out because of all the beacons, but everything seems to be working well and all products are coming down the belts.
Nice.
However, what is not so
Nice
is the rapidly diminishing resources in my base. The green steel outpost is struggling to keep up, and if we look at the ore patches, we quickly find out why. About 3/4 of the copper ore patches has meanwhile been consumed, as well as over half the iron. It won't be long before we'll have to tab into the last 3 ore patches within our base. Man oh man, When we discovered and conquered this supercluster of southern resources, I thought we were golden. And it's gone! So, what is the natural next step after that startling discovery? Resource conservation programs? Well, no, to take into use the new Module 3 production facility, of course. Well, we do still need many more modules to rebuild the polluting green steel outpost into a true green steel outpost. Whoa, okay dude, isn't artillery shell production getting a bit out of hand? Yeah, that's enough indeed, let's give them some rest. Oh no, he's gonna rebuild them, isn't he? Yep, yes he is. But why then? Why? Well, because a plan is forming in my head. A great plan. A ginormous plan, which will cover every corner on this world and beyond. So we have been building our new green base for a while now, but we can't really know if everything works as intended if the base is mostly idle. So while we can't really start to measure the environmental effects of our green base until the whole old base has been converted, we will do a quick test run and switch everything on for a couple of hours to see if anything breaks, bottlenecks or deadlocks. That means that next to the tier 3 module production, we've also got to start up science production again. So, as a quick and temporary solution, we're putting back the 100 science per minute setup from our old polluting base again. With a production goal of 40,000 science packs per type, that will keep running for a while. That means we've also got to resume production of the space science pack, so our old legacy rocket silo with its 69 launches will have to come out of retirement. It will have to go the full distance and make it all the way to the goal of 100 satellite launches we had set for ourselves in the early game. So with 31 rocket launches to go and 7 satellites still in the chest, we will need 24 more. So in order to limit production, we simply remove the simplest ingredient from the requester chests and limit those by hand ourselves. So here are 24 sets of 5 radars required for the remaining 24 satellites. You know what, let's take the last 5 and set those aside for ourselves, so we can manually launch the celebratory 100 rocket. Now that satellite production has been manually limited, we can remove the inserter's wire conditions and let them swing freely. So then we can re-request the proper requests to these requester chests, which means automatic rocket launches have been resumed. So here's launch number 70. So while all science production has been resumed, we are just stashing all the produced science packs and won't resume research just yet. With nuclear power, labs are practically pollution free anyway, so it won't interfere with our green base experiment. The important thing is that science pack production continues. But our labs are hungry and ready and waiting patiently to be fed. And here's launch number 75. And I just wanted to mention I found a new tree. Nothing special, just a tree, you know. I happened to be standing around here, and then the tree happened to be standing around here as well. One thing led to another, and suddenly the tree was covered in creamy white light. Anyway, where's my green chips, dude? Dude, where's your green chips? Oh, there they are. Let's cancel this movie idea then. But why is the buffer empty? We should have exactly 2 belts of green chips all the time. Well, it looks like we are just not producing 2 blue belts of green chips anymore. Perhaps not even 1 full blue belt. Our copper source has diminished into near nothing now. Anyway, did I mention my bots were now too fast for poor old Johnny's redemption? Well, not if the bots are running out of steam exactly when passing the Johnnies, they are not. So let's distract the Johnnies by having them play with Spider-Man and try to solve the bot situation with a big old Roboport charging station nearby. Hopefully the incoming bots will change course and go recharge over there first. But man, look at the remains of all the dead bots shot down by the Johnnies. Anything which they have been carrying is lost forever. But what are they carrying? Oh no, they're carrying the hyper expensive tier 3 modules. Oh my god, please no, Johnnies, no! Luckily, it seems our charging station happens to be in exactly the right place, and most to all of the high-speed bots seem to be able to evade Johnny's projectiles now. So let's just not look anymore. If we aren't looking when it happens, we won't feel the pain of the lost tier 3 modules. But where the heck are all those bots flying to anyway? Yes indeed, we are finally taking care of the green steel situation. And we're building a new green chip build right south of our very first oil field. And if we look at the map, we can already see the effects of our new green main base. The pollution cloud over the main base is noticeably less dark than the pollution cloud over the old polluting green steel outpost, which is still fiercely polluting the now not so nearby biters. And its pollution is still seeping ever so slightly further through the hole in the biter ozone layer lake or something. But finally we are also in the process of solving the ozone layer problem. Let's hop on the and see what we have been building. Behold our new green chip outpost, which now also consists of exclusively minimum pollution output assemblers. It is quite a large build again, but the corner should remain just outside of the reach of Johnny's redemption. Of course, the new green assemblers are being provided with plates from our fully new green furnace area, similar to the main base's new furnace area. And what is this? The modules are not in the same order. Ah! This is unacceptable. Anyway, now that those furnaces have been moduled properly, we can start thinking about hooking up our very last 3 resource patches in order to start off our new green steel outpost. Wait, green steel outpost? Where's the new green steel setup then? Well, it's gonna be right here, all the way down on the far south border. we will assign this full 6 million iron ore patch to our new steel smeltery. Of course, we will have to hand insert another 600 modules ourselves again. Don't judge me, don't you know it's very important they are all in the right order, or else the base will run 0% less efficient. Anyway, with the last untouched iron patch assigned to steel, where are we going to gather iron for the green chips from then? Well, we are going to repurpose all the remaining iron of the old polluting outpost to the new green chips build. And since the steel chests at the train stop are still chock full, I think we can safely cut off the iron ore supply from the old steel smeltery. We will need a lot more copper though, so we built 2 copper mines on our last 2 ore patches. Connect them to the new furnace area before reversing the belt on the 2 old copper mines and lead them to the new outpost as well. Altogether, we then have 4 belts of copper incoming. 2 full belts are being supplied by the largest new patch of 3.4 million, and the other 2 belts are supplied by the smaller 2 million copper patch, supported by the 1.2 remaining in the 2 old copper mines. That should balance out our last 4 copper patches fairly well, and hopefully keep the base running for long enough to achieve world peace. That means in total we have about 6.6 million copper available for the green chips now, and all the remaining iron here equates to 6.4 million, which means we will have a little extra iron available for other purposes later on if needed. Anyway, let's connect all this iron to the new green furnace area. And as the bots complete the belts and the last bot places the last belt piece just in time, we can enjoy a nice montage of the new green chip build coming into action. Nice! Well, the station is being loaded, so let's call over that train then. And that means we can delete the old green steel stop from the schedule and have the train start to shuttle between the home station and the new efficiency green steel pickup. Now we just need to let the bots switch on the new steel smeltery, and then it's time to get rid of the last polluting eyesore in our environmentally friendly base. It is out with the old and in with the new. After a couple spider bench trips to transfer the remaining steel and green chips, we get rid of the old, obsolete rail line. Our bots haven't even finished deconstructing the old outpost, yet the former thick red pollution cloud has already started to look a lot less dense. Now, with all those efficient efficiency module setups, you'd think our power consumption had gone down quite a bit, but the opposite is true. Our tileable nuclear plant is running at 90% of max capacity now. A cool 2.3 gigawatts is required to run the base. And it's almost entirely due to all the beacons. A beacon consumes a flat 480 kilowatts, no matter what modules you put inside. A very distant second and third place are for the map management section of roboports and radars, which means the top 3 power consumers are completely pollution free. It takes yet another distant leap down the pecking order to get to our first production element. Our assemblers are tied for 4th place in power consumption with the mostly idle laser turrets. Anyway, while we are near the power plant's max capacity, we don't need to worry about brownouts, because our power draw is extremely stable. Of our top 3 power consumers, the beacons and the radars both have a 100% constant, invariable power draw, and only the roboport network consumes a noticeable variation in power from time to time. Anyway, remember the 2 mighty rich oil sources we connected earlier? Yeah, both of them now have also reached their infinite minimum production state, just like our starter oil source, and indeed the main base is mostly relying on bursts of coal liquefaction again. Anyway, the next step in our pollution program is to reduce the pump jack's pollution output to the -80% minimum. Our first initial oil source was still running on speed modules, which means we take a small hit in oil production by changing those out for efficiency modules. The other 2 oil fields were already running on tier 1 efficiency modules, so each pump jack was running at -60% energy consumption and pollution output already. So while upgrading them to the tier 2 efficiency modules doesn't come with a change in oil production, the pair of tier 2 modules now provide -80% to power and pollution, exactly reaching the minimum threshold. All in all, replacing the speed modules in the first oil field decreased pump jack pollution from 248 to 104 per minute, and upgrading the other 2 oil fields from -60 to -80% dropped us further to only 62 pollution per minute. Not bad. The bots are fully done deconstructing the whole old green steel outpost, and it feels like there was never anything here. Well, except for all the scorched ground left by the former biter bases, of course. And indeed, with that last big polluter now fully gone, already holes start to appear in the once so thick smog cloud around this area. We are on the right path here. So yeah, with all 3 of our oil fields now having reached their minimum infinite production state, we will be producing 11k of free oil per minute for the rest of the game. But we can do better while still being able to retain the absolute minimum pollution output. What would happen if we put 8 efficiency beacons around the pump jack, but replace the modules inside the pump jack with tier 3 speed modules? Well, we'd be producing twice the free oil per minute, while pollution still remains at a minimum of -80%. And because all of my active oil fields have now reached their final minimum infinite production state, we are basically generating twice as much oil out of those depleted oil fields for no extra power consumption or pollution output. In fact, you can say we are now producing only half the pollution per barrel of oil produced, and this increased oil production will also decrease the amount of coal liquefaction we will have to do to keep the base supplied. So, due to the random layout of the immovable pump jacks, it took quite some puzzling out where to put beacons and pipes and whatnot, but in the end we did it. We doubled production in the 2 new oil fields, while pollution before and after the change remains exactly equal, a minimum of -80% for every single pump jack. We increased free oil production to 19k per minute for the rest of the game, opting to leave our first original oil field intact out of pure, weak sentiment. Meanwhile, pollution absorption by biter bases has completely stopped. Only when making expansions inside my pollution cloud, they quickly absorb any already present pollution before being blasted into oblivion by my artillery turrets. Well, I lied about all pump jacks have been converted to minimum pollution. There is one more pump jack which needs upgrading to tier 2 efficiency modules. Our trusty flamethrower supplying pump jack indeed. And as the bot delivers the modules to the pump jack and we watch the pollution drop from 62 to 60, we have completely converted every last machine in our entire base to be as green as possible. Every single machine is now outputting the absolute minimum pollution possible. But will it be enough? Let's check. The biters are now a complete non-factor in absorbing pollution. And compared to 20 hours ago, when we were absolutely destroying our forests by damaging 440 trees per minute, our efforts have not gone unnoticed and the blue line has drastically dropped down over time. And if we look at just the last hour, we can celebrate the fact that it has been half an hour since a tree took damage from pollution for the last time, which means that we have achieved our goal of eternally sustainable pollution absorption. With no more damage being done to the trees, their pollution absorbing capacity has stopped degrading and they will now sustainably absorb pollution at a constant rate for eternity. That means, while the biters may have never needed us, now we no longer need the biters here either, and this planet is only big enough for one of us.